another stream here on my time, same as East Coast time, North America, Canada, 7 p.m. So tonight we're going to talk about I guess a popular item. We're going to talk about C++, high frequency trading, ultra low latency trading, and the transition from that to C#. So let me go through this very quickly. I have no idea how many people will show up, but here we are. So what's been going on? I completed a C++ system, basic one with the usual client server on there. And the server in C++ is processing calls for rhythmic data and market orders, and also for each client being able to handle by strategy. Last week I said it would be by instrument, but by strategy, handling by strategy now, not instrument. So there was that. So it got kind of difficult, hard to maintain, forced on Windows because it's Rhythmic Trader Pro. That's all I can do. So C++ development on Windows is not fun with the package manager. If you're trying to do AI with Claude, loses its context window, hard to debug, just a lot of files flying back and forth with the header files and configuration files like the make, CMake files and all that. So I wasn't getting very far with it. I spent about 6 hours. Usually I can finish everything within a few hours to get everything up and running and debugged. And my goal has been always to get it into a runnable state. So I got kind of tired of it and moved it all into C#. Much easier. It is not obviously true high frequency trading. Maybe to some it might be, but it is high speed, especially for Windows. And things are getting much closer to working. In the last 15 minutes, I got it actually sending data back and forth from the client strategy into the gateway server, and then turning around and sending that out to Rhythmic, and then Rhythmic responding, and then sending that from the gateway back to the client server, or to the client strategy. So it's working. And that configuration, that setting was much, much shorter than trying to do it with C++. So as I said, it's not true high frequency trading, but as good as you're going to get. And especially for Windows, and I don't like developing C++ on Windows with the Visual C++. And part of the problem is with the AI, I'm currently using Claude 4.5. There is a big difference there as well. If you guys got questions or comments, let me know. Thanks for chiming in. But let me talk about what's going on with the AI front in the meantime. So last Thursday, it was announced by by Anthropic that they do see the context window kind of messed up. So apparently they've expanded it. They've done something to Claude Code. I'm not using Claude Code at all. To build this out properly, I have used the Gemini 3 Pro. Now this is really important to understand is I have had major success with Claude 4.5, Opus with Python and JavaScript. But coming back to even C# and C++, it gets more complicated. The program sizes and the source files of C#, C++ can easily get over 1,500 lines. So I've had some decent success by generating code with Gemini 3 Pro. It's about one-fifth the size of what Claude 4.5 generates. And as I said, my goal is to get everything in a runnable state. Once you've achieved the runnable state, then the next state is to actually get it working and somewhat configured. I've got that working with Gemini 3 Pro. In the last hour, I tried to do the same thing with Claude 4.5 Pro. No dice. Whereas I got it working very simplified with Gemini 3 Pro. So I'm starting to question on like Claude 4.5 Opus is kind of overkill depending upon what you're trying to do. So to keep code simple with C++ and maybe C#, you might be better off to go with Gemini 3 Pro. All the other LLMs models I've worked with, OpenAI, ChatGPT, I've worked with Grok, I've worked with all the Chinese ones, and the only ones I'm working now are with Claude or Gemini 3. And the Gemini 3, surprisingly, can kind of work. It's not as sophisticated, depending upon the language. As I said, if you want to use JavaScript or Python, I think for sure, Claude 4.5 is the way to go. But if you're starting to go in a more complicated way, you need to kind of maybe potentially go with Gemini 3 Pro. That's just my experience. The code, the file sizes are much smaller, but it works. And I got it working in the last 20 minutes. So that's where I'm going to go. Now, part of that is with the new development on things like been using Notebook LM, which is with Gemini 3, awesome tool, really good in fact. So I just launched a podcast with that. I put up my first podcast on that explaining this whole notion, but it's very stripped down and very easy to understand, and it's like a broadcast style. You can find that on my Substack, quantlabs.substack.com. So I'll repeat, quantlabs.substack.com. There you'll find the new podcast I just put up today explaining the configuration of this whole architecture with C#. It also will explain all the algos as well in a much simpler methodology. So yeah, we'll just leave it at that. But as I said, moving with the Gemini 3 Pro with this notebook LM, this has led me to go with the, I don't know if it's newly launched, but it's called Gemini AI Pro subscription. So I'm going to try it out, and with that, I'm going to get access to the new Google Anti-Gravity IDE. Okay, so I've had people even on this stream said, oh, it's awesome, give it a whirl. I just moved into VS Code. I've had surprisingly pretty good success with it in the last couple of weeks. So now I'm going to try something new with the Anti-Gravity, the Google. And probably working more of the Gemini 3 Pro, Gemini 3 Pro for coding. Just as a highlight, what I've seen on Reddit, they said that the anti-gravity is basically when Google bought Cognition for Windsurf. There's two editions of Windsurf. There is the IDE called Windsurf, and then there is the Windsurf Visual Studio extension and the JetBrains one as well. So from what I understand with anti-gravity, it's basically a rewritten version of the forked VS Code IDE called Windsurf. So Google went in, rewrote it, and then re-released it, calling it anti-gravity. So I'm going to give that a shot with the Gemini 3 Pro. Hopefully I'll have some good success with that. And then, for C#, stick with anti-gravity and leave it at that. All right, so enough of that. Let me know if you got questions or comments at all on any of these topics or what you're going on developing or any of your challenges. Because this is all new. It's always in flux. The new DeepSeek 4 is coming out in mid-February. Apparently that's going to be very revolutionary. That's why a lot of the products have been rushed out from both Anthropic and Google in the last few weeks, because of this new expectation of the new DeepSeek 4 coming out. That might revolutionize everything in AI again, and coding specifically. It's supposed to be very different from what's been released in the past, not just from DeepSeek themselves, but other LLM providers. So it may set a new standard. The problem with something like DeepSeek is they don't keep it competitive. It'll last for about 6 weeks, 2 months maybe, and it will be the exciting LLM to use. But because there's going to be two versions, there's going to be a paid version and a free version. If the free version is as good as the paid versions of Claude 4.5 or Gemini 3, I think they'll quickly respond, and it'll just get better. Hopefully it'll get cheaper as well. But the US AI LMs seem to somehow leapfrog ahead whatever comes out of China as well. So we'll see what happens. But right now for coding, I am just using Claude 4.5 Pro, but just maybe for C# and C++, as I explained before, I'm looking at just Gemini 3 Pro as well. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Because Claude can overkill in its code generation. So you could generate a 300-line source file in C++, and then just convert it, or not convert it, just have it with the same prompt run in Claude 4.5 Opus, and then all of a sudden you get 1,300 lines of code. You rerun that, debug it, compile it, and then you get a whole slew of new errors. So it just seems to kind of overly complicate the coding. So we'll leave it at that. So if you got questions or comments, let me know. And I'm just kind of focused on this stream right now and nothing else. So if you guys got comments or questions, let me know. I'll be glad to answer whatever I can. Like I said, I'm trying to focus on this development with C#. So that's my priority right now with this new system, and hopefully the final system. I've got it working the farthest so far versus C++. So there's that. So we'll see what happens with the stream. I don't know how long it'll last, but that's the latest update. And the architectures, probably with C++ and Opus, it can get fairly complicated fairly quickly. But moving it over to Gemini 3 Pro, it seems to be simpler, and to get it working as well. That's obviously the main goal. But what I do think when it comes to the quant coding or the quant algo development, you may want to stick with whatever Claude is and just do that within the client, not change the server code. And we'll leave it at that. Anybody out there, let me know. Cool. Hello. Our last number of streams have been a couple hours. But I thought this would be a popular topic, to be honest. But what can you do? Alrighty. Should I hang out here, talk in another 15 minutes, see where it goes? So there's a bunch of things going on in trading as well. Things are radically changing. I thought a few days ago Bitcoin would spike over 100K, got close, but then Bitcoin, what it does is just it falls back all the time. And there's been a lot of predictability of our unpredictability of negative volatility. So that's going to be pretty hard to trade. Right now, Ethereum seems to be the one that people like to trade over Bitcoin as performance. So with these strategies that I've got 4 of them lined up as clients because I moved them from dedicating instruments as client code, and now I'm just focusing on strategy code. So there's 4 of them I have. There's OU, the podcast talks about that I just explained. There's also RSI, mean reversion. There is VWAP, mean reversion, and another one. So there's 4 strategies. So with each one, I can run that strategy, and then as part of the parameters that's run through a CLI, I can pass in the exchange, the symbol, and the number of contracts I want to trade. So it's much simpler, and I can run multiple sessions of that same strategy on different future contracts with different configurations as well. So that's one of the advantages going that route instead of dedicating a client for just a instrument. Let me know if you got questions or comments. Appreciate you being here. I'm not sure if this is going to be a short one tonight. I have no idea. It depends really on audience participation. But as I said, if you're missing out what was said, this is getting obviously streamed and will eventually get rendered on YouTube under my live tab, and you can get access to what was already said, but I'm happy to answer whatever questions you might have. Don't even know if you guys can hear me or not, but yeah. I'm going to probably be on here 17 minutes, probably another up to a half hour minimum I'll stay on. But the trading is going to get crazy. After the Davos stuff and all the political, I'm not going to go deep in that, but just the political's driving a lot of uncertainty. I do still post what is going to be tradable down the road. They're saying gold might not be the big investment because it's already hit its peak. Same with gold, with silver as well. I think the only reason it's moving up is because China has opened up and started importing more Australian commodity silver, and their manufacturing starting to move ahead. So that's probably the real reason why silver is doing well. Obviously the uncertainty as well, but as I said before, the VIX will spike in these down markets. So if you got questions or comments, let me know. I'll be glad to answer them. Not sure if people can hear me or not, but I'm here as promised. Should I talk about the boats I was looking at? $2 million boats, 42 feet, Italian made? No. As I said, if you got comments or questions, let me know. Yeah, I mean, everything's hopefully going to be working tonight with how I'm going, and moving on from there. And I'll have a new video in the next few days to showcase this one. The problem is I can't show it live because of personal data gets revealed in the log. I might actually put a request in to remove that, not to put the account information coming in from Rhythmic. I'm sure I can showcase that, but we'll see how that goes in the next iteration or future iterations of the C# coding on when I'm building out the client server for this, call it high speed trading system, HFT like, and all that. So if you got comments or questions, let me know. Oh, finally, hey, CNN, how are you? Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, been talking 20 minutes now. Just looking for questions and comments. I just want to know I'm being heard here. It's like last week there was a blip that people are saying they couldn't hear me. So not sure what's going to happen with this stream. If you guys got comments or questions, I'll be gladly to answer them. And I've already rambled on for 20 minutes, so just waiting for comments or questions. Usually, as I know with YouTube, you got to wait half an hour. Oh, JDI, how are you? Doing okay. If you got comments or questions about tonight's topic, I've already talked about the latest status, so if you got any questions, let me know. Comments. Sound is perfect. Great. Thank you for letting me know. That's important to know. I was getting nervous there for a while, thinking and nobody was hearing me, and here I am blabbing away. So, as I said, I've already mentioned about what's going on with the C# thing. In the meantime, if you got comments or questions, let me know. In the meantime, I've got a new podcast that just relaunched to put up the new first edition. It's really broadcast between two, it's all AI, two people talking about this topic, about the modeling, about the simplified modeling, and why everything was chosen. It's better. It has better explanation than me talking, because it describes why the CNN and stuff. Yes, JD, I've already mentioned about the commodities. Specifically, I'm not sure what you might be referring to, but I do think gold, like I heard earlier today on Bloomberg, which I'm now listening to, again, they said that gold might have hit its peak, and like peak for the next while, a couple of years, in fact. Same with silver. They're actually saying silver may decline because silver is more dependent on manufacturing for solar panel and EV. So if the manufacturing doesn't stay intact, then definitely silver will probably drop back. And then I think it'll just bounce around like it did in its day. But we may have already peaked. Even Monero, the crypto, has dropped off as well. So I don't know how to comment that on that, but yeah, it's possible we may have hit peak value. If you guys got comments or criticisms, let me know. I'm here to talk about whatever. Or JDI, if you want to let me know on your specific commodity trading. They did mention back in October that there would be a major super cycle, and look what's happened already. I mean, yeah, it's pretty crazy. If things get really bad, the couple of ones I've been talking about, that's confirmed. There was an actual infographic on it, the strongest currencies against the falling US dollar. The strongest one is the Mexican peso, and number 2 is Swiss franc. So there might be some opportunity there to trade. I know the volume is picked up on the Mexican peso in the futures market, so that might be worth looking into. The Australian dollar as well. When I run the trends, British pound on Friday was up there as well. What would you say is a decent asset to move into in a declining environment? As I said, the best ones are probably going to be currencies in the futures market. Just mentioned them. I think Swiss franc, Mexican peso, definitely. As things move badly, there's going to be a big shock coming with the Japanese bond market. It spiked last night. If that comes undone, then yeah, we're all in big trouble, because that's what kept, since the 90s, everything afloat. That's a carry trade with the Japanese yen. So who knows? Maybe gold and silver will continue to move up. I don't know. Bitcoin's proven not to be tradable right now. Ethereum, I think, has more potential than Bitcoin. But there was a report that came out, I saw, in the crypto space. 80% of all the crypto traded by volume is Bitcoin and Ethereum. Anything else like XRP, Solana, don't even try. CME just added Cardano and Stellar on CME. They just announced that last week. So it'll get interesting with those. But right now, the big ones on the crypto space are Bitcoin and Ethereum, if it proves itself. But apparently the institutions are loading up, but you're not seeing it in the retail price. If you guys got comments or questions, let me know. I'll be gladly to answer them on tonight's topic. But in the meantime, what's a good commodity or a good asset? As I said, if things got really bad, I think currencies, as I said earlier, Mexican peso, Swiss franc. The best one, if they're and apparently the VIX has already spiked close to 20. So in the futures market and options, VIX will be a really good one to have. That will be something to trade for sure. And with the uncertainty, I hear that there was a bank that was short silver. I'm not sure about that, but it's possible that silver may come down. As I said on Bloomberg, a couple of analysts said that both gold and silver may have already reached its peak, and it may just go sideways moving forward. The only things that's been driving gold and silver has been really retail and the central banks loading up on it, but who knows? We're going into some very uncertain times, but what's tradable is who knows? But I do know, I think if I saw things to trade would be definitely VIX and currencies. Agriculture may move as well because that's one of the safer places to go. I mean, that's the nice thing about the U.S. markets, the diversity of them. But again, with Rhythmic, I know I can get access to foreign markets, and there's some exchanges doing okay. Foreign exchanges like Germany's doing okay, or our exchange in Toronto Stock Exchange is doing okay. So they may do okay. I don't know. If I can find ways to get access to them through through Rhythmic, I'll definitely consider those because that's the nice thing about Rhythmic. It's a conduit to a lot of the major exchanges out there. You just got to find the right symbols to trade and the right path, the right gateway. But it should be possible. Don't see why not. As I said, if you guys got other questions or comments, I don't know, on the architecture of I'm calling them high-speed trading now. The notion of call things high-frequency trading when it's not really high-frequency trading. There's a lot of obviously fake marketing out there to get views and clicks and whatever, and maybe sales by trying to say that there's some MetaTrader Forex high-frequency trading expert advisor, which is like kind of like a joke. But let me know if you guys got comments or questions. I have tonight I'm at the most advanced stage with this because I'm on C#. I've also talked about how Claude may be kind of overkill now, I'm thinking, for C++ and C#. It's fine. For sure it's fine for JavaScript and Python and the like, but I think it might be overkill for C++ and C# because I said earlier, and I've got various content on it already. If you guys got comments or questions, let me know. Yeah. But I'm making some good successes with C#. Do you get any maker or taker rebates when trading? I haven't seen any documentation on that yet, JDI. I think that's going to be more when you go direct market access on the Diamond API with Rhythmic. That's the higher end for the direct market access. As I said, to get to that, you have to have a large account. I mean, the only way you can get taker or maker is if you're on another exchange like Binance in the futures market. But I've already mentioned on the volumes with Binance, I think the volume on Binance is declining because more of the institutional are going either on Coinbase Prime or CME for crypto, namely obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum. And Binance is more retail, mom and pop stuff. And I think from what I'm seeing, a lot of the crypto, if there is growth in Bitcoin, it's going to be driven by institutions. And that's going to be CME or Coinbase Prime to take real advantage of that. I think Binance may be fine in the futures market and derivatives market, but here I'm saying it's not regulated. Yeah, if you guys got other questions or comments, but yeah, if you want the maker taker from a retail, you might, if you can get access to it, try the Binance. Would you say that it's now harder to make money algo trading crypto? Oh yeah, for sure. Because you look at the performance of the last couple of weeks with Bitcoin. There was an article I saw today that was asking if Bitcoin's going to hit a death cross, which means it's like confirmed decline. And if that's the case, one other article said that Bitcoin could go down as low as 50,000. So you're going from, it kind of touched 98,000, and here now you're talking it's going to go to 50, and it could go into some kind of crypto winter. It's hard to trade. Monero would have been good, but even that's come off as well. Because I don't know if people have seen Monero, man. Monero is just on a tear. It was the only crypto that was doing very well. But the other problem is everything's going to stable coins as well. So that's sucking off a lot of the demand for Bitcoin. And how do you trade stablecoin when it's pegged to the US dollar? So there's not a lot of performance there. I mean, you could trade the DXY, but it's never widely traded in terms of performance in a positive sense. Last year in 25, it lost 10%. So yeah, crypto could be difficult to trade, but I think the best markets will be if things go really bad. I think one of the articles that the AI that I generated said if U.S. goes into a deep recession, and it's very probable. And the other thing, as I said earlier, with the Japanese yen blowing up, with that carry trade with the bond market in Japan, if that blows up, then for sure we could enter not just a recession, but a very deep, long, entrenched recession leading into the big D word. And you also got China exporting so many product into Europe that they have some product now declining in price. So that leads into deflation, which is an utter nightmare for, well, outside the consumer, but for the markets and the economies in Europe. If they go into deflation because the Chinese products start to come down in price, yeah, it'll be a bad situation for Europe. And, you know, Canada just signed this big deal with China as well last week, and we could get affected by that as well. And only the States will kind of do okay as long as they're not signing big trade agreements with China. So who knows? But if you got questions or further questions, JDI or anyone else, let me know. That's what I'm here for. But I think crypto is getting harder, and I've been saying it for a while. I'm starting to question its relevancy now with stablecoins now on the scene. But we may have a saving grace as well, because Coinbase is now disputing that big bill that was introduced, the Clarity Act. And I'm not a big fan of Coinbase, but I just heard him on Bloomberg today. He's at the typical WAF, and he was saying that a lot of the banks and the lobbyists were trying to muscle out a lot of the smaller crypto players. And he was arguing that they wanted a fair playing field, and the banks and the lobbyists wanted to hoard all the activity for crypto with the clarity only for the banks, and take out all the crypto exchanges as well, and didn't give them a fair shake. So that's why he pulled out. That's what his whole argument was. So hearing that, I totally agree. And as he said, that it keeps what he calls the TradFi, the trading financial, or intact. But the whole concept of crypto was to move away from that to be more, call it DeFi, I guess, even though it's regulated, but less banking regulated, or less performant, or less leaning towards the banks, not favorable to the crypto exchanges. And Coinbase obviously is the largest exchange in the U.S. Binance for a while was being a big real threat to the whole financial system years ago when they got banned. You guys got any further questions or comments? I don't know if you also heard that a few days ago, the New York Stock Exchange just announced that they're bringing out a new blockchain. I think NASDAQ's got one as well. So as these new blockchains come out with New York Stock Exchange, that's going to lead into the markets, at least the stock markets, to be able to be traded quite possibly 24/7 like crypto exchanges. So that's, to me, it's a good thing, because hopefully the volumes will rise in overnight sessions for us on the East Coast outside of, U.S., like New York and Chicago business hours. So if those volumes rise, I'll be quite possibly a good thing. So you guys got further questions or comments? Let me know. Keep them coming. I think we did okay for a while, getting up to a few more people, but we're here to engage. But I appreciate all your questions, JDI, and Predrag's response as well. That's important. Because right now I'm working on the C# trading thing with Rhythmic. I got that working. It's passing the data back to the clients. So this is the farthest I've gotten. So I'm happy with that. And now I just got to get it streaming, and then working on the trading logic in each strategy client. And then once it triggers a order, they'll send that back through the server gateway into Rhythmic. And if I get that all done in C#, then we got a trading system. And I could trade it for a little bit and eventually throw live money at it, which has been pretty well the goal for the last number of weeks. Problem is with the AI and what I'm trying to do, it's you try it out and you go, like what I was doing 2 weeks ago, I was doing things what I thought would be the right way. I was testing it out. I started thinking that I had one, like it was with Bitcoin, I was testing against Rhythmic, and it seemed to work pretty good. And I thought, okay, let me try to add on another instrument in this setup. And it was really hard to do. That's why I had to re-engineer everything to move it from the client focusing on an instrument and instead to focus on a strategy. And that seems to be much easier and much better to work with, because I can run multiple sessions of the same client code, which is a strategy, and have it run against different instruments or different contract sizes as well. So some good advantages with that. I just got to make sure that the server is rock solid, because if that kind of goes wonky, it could really screw up your live trading. So as an example, you could have an order put out, and then something happens to the connection between the client server, and then you have these abandoned open sessions, and then let's say the market starts to tank. Now you start losing money badly because something in the connection broke. I'm trying to make the connection between the client server and the client server connection as robust as possible, and have a lot of intelligence. So let's say if a client dropped the connection, that the server would see it and then would maybe automatically close off all open positions for that strategy and contract, because as I said, you leave those open, it's a high risk of losing money badly. So if you got comments, questions, let me know. Glad to be here. Next week, I'm probably going to do something more career oriented. I got a decent response in part of the stream last week, so might do that. I'm actually going to see if I can bring in not during the stream, but do a video, a podcast with a recruiter out of London, talk about what I've been suspecting about career when it comes to these types of positions, just to confirm that. And that would be from a recruiter. And I think they're pretty high profile as well. They're a boutique recruiter, and maybe open up questions from people as well as part of the session, and then just put that out there. And a lot of people put out all this educational stuff and interview questions, but that doesn't mean anything, because it's not from somebody within the recruiting process of quant positions or quant research or quant development positions. So you want to talk to somebody who's a recruiter and what they look for and what their clients look for, which means paying money. Because I think there's a lot of so-called recruiters out there, but they don't specifically suggest what people need to do if they can't find work. So I think that's going to be a topic I'm going to put out there. If you guys got comments or questions, let me know. So yeah, I think, because I'm trying to find need and fill that gap. Okay, JDI, another question. I've been looking into different market making strategies to deploy on IB. The only thing is that there's a limit of 50 API requests per second. That's pretty good, actually. So 50 API requests, so is that for data? And I guess that's across all types of instruments as well. That's pretty high for a retail account. With my strategies, what I do, and it's been working, is to request every half second, and it works. But when you have, I haven't come across any limitations with that at all. But I haven't had multiple strategies in parallel putting out those kind of requests, meaning to bombard both the server and sending out those requests from Rhythmic and seeing if it comes back with the correct data, expected data. So it's early for me to say, but from what I'm seeing with Rhythmic, it's pretty good at, if you're doing an order book, it gives you everything, every request at half a second. So Rhythmic seems to be, I'll say this, if you're doing futures and options, you definitely want to be on Rhythmic, because if you're telling me you're getting only 50 API requests a second, which sounds good, that could be a problem down the road if you start to get, you start to bombard it with a lot of data requests. I don't think I've read all the documentation from Rhythmic. I'm not seeing that limitation yet. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but on the other hand, Rhythmic is built for these kind of number of requests. So I'd be kind of baffled if they did have that kind of limitation. And even if they did, the only way to get around that is moving up to the next tier on that Diamond API. And as I've mentioned, that the requirements for that is not for retail, for sure. You got to be very institutional and have probably a strategy that's generating in the millions to really make it worthwhile to be on that API. It's not cheap, but I'm sure that, I'm 100% sure that API will definitely will have not these kind of limits, what you're talking about, JDI. But it's a very good point. Thanks for letting me know about that. It's a good share to know about the 50 requests. part of the problem with, as I said, interactive brokers, they're not true HFT. What they do, they'll have their two data centers, one in Switzerland and one in New Jersey, and when they move the requests and data for orders into CME, it has limited pipelines. So that's probably one of the reasons why they have those limitations, and they probably have quite literally thousands of customers doing the same thing, so they have to put a limit on it. And I'm sure the CME would probably give higher priority to Rhythmic versus interactive brokers, and I suspect, and say this because it's all spitballing here, I think the thing is, from a CME perspective or any exchange, like major exchange, is which data provider, which venue's giving me the exchange more revenue. And I can almost guarantee you Rhythmic will be thousands of more than interactive brokers. So they get the priority. So they won't have the limitations that interactive brokers will have. And as I said before, with interactive brokers, there's always some kind of limitation or something's broken with interactive brokers. If you do a search on Sierra charts, and that's a high-speed trading system in C++, and you put in that search query Sierra charts interactive brokers, you'll see the huge number of warnings they give you on the limitation that you have, and they say it may not work. And I can also speak from my own experience as well with Trader Post. That connection with interactive brokers will be in beta mode forever, because any time interactive brokers is involved with a third party, there's always problems. So just letting you know, it's fine to practice and probably small scale. You'll be fine. I'll be small scale for a while, but I just don't want to have to come back and redo everything to get onto something like Rhythmic. It's a real pain. I do know the Diamond, I'll have less coding to do if I ever get to that point. I could take years, but just saying, because I don't want to be chained to a desk forever. That's not the goal here. If you guys got questions or comments, let me know. I have no problem talking about whatever. We talk about trading, investing, the different tech stuff as well. But JDI, you're the only real active outside of Mr. Ass, CNN. Yeah. So I don't know. We had a good number of questions last week, but your questions are good tonight. More people is better, obviously, because the streams last longer. Let me know. I can only talk so much. This could be a short one, 48 minutes. So normally it's 2 hours, 3 hours the last couple of weeks. I don't mind keeping them short. I really don't. As I said, I can go back to my C# stuff and have a new video next few weeks to showcase this stuff. You got questions, JDI? Let me know. Appreciate your questions, though. Oh, great. Another question. Have you previously had successful strategies which started to lose money after some time? Yes, I've had. It's frustrating. Obviously, you're starting a strategy, and let's say a particular instrument starts losing money. You can be like a cat chasing its tail when you get in that scenario. The best recommendation is to, it's hard to say, you just don't want to be married to one asset, like Bitcoin as an example, where it's just not performing right now and you could be losing money. You want to bring as much diverse amount of product as instruments as possible. Because if we go into an environment now, as I said earlier, where we get stocks declining, crypto declining, gold eventually, yeah, you want to be able to focus on different strategies and instruments as much as possible to diversify, especially if we are going to be locked into a declining period for a long time, or a crypto winter, we can call it. New person, Yasser Al-Fayyad. Welcome, thanks for the question. What are the probabilities of someone getting into this Wall Street HFT firm from Africa? I don't know if there's any restrictions with Rhythmic at all. Depending upon where you are in Africa, depending upon what you want to trade is number one. Crypto might be your best bet. Diverse, especially if you're in Binance. But it depends where you're trading from and what country. Again, I don't know. I know Rhythmic does have limited countries that you can't trade in, but if you're willing to do futures and options, that's something I'd look into to see what Rhythmic has in terms of support of countries. Interactive brokers is pretty good as well. They're actually really good. And I know a guy in Trinidad, he can't get access to Interactive brokers. He's got to go through a third party, but he pays a lot in fees for it, like commission fees. But if you're having real restrictions, unfortunately, I think you can only relocate. I'm actually worried about that myself when I relocate, especially in Asia. I do know Interactive brokers. I should be okay in a lot of the major markets. Major markets. But it just depends, A, what you're trading and what broker you're using. But crypto's really the least restrictive, I think, if you're going to go with Binance. Like, I can't trade Binance. You can't trade Binance in a lot of countries. But if you're practicing, yeah, Binance might be okay to go with. But if you're trying to do U.S. market stuff, your best universal options probably be Interactive brokers based upon their limited support of countries. But they're not so bad. And I think they have over 100 countries they support, and quite a few probably from Africa maybe. And the other one is Rhythmic as well for futures and options. But Forex is another one I didn't mention. Awanda's pretty good. They've got good global support as well. So you might be okay there for retail Forex. Again, it just depends upon what you're trying to trade and your experience. But true HFT, you probably want to be either in UK or US for your servers. True HFT. If I do it, it will be a hassle for me for the US, but because I'm a British citizen, born there, it's not a limitation for me there. So, but it depends, how you define HFT as well. But that's a good question. Never thought about that. Any of you guys got any other questions at all? Let me know. Another question from Riyasser. I appreciate that. Thanks for asking. What top projects will suggest one should build in C++ to get into this HFT firms? And I'm not talking about the likes of Black-Scholes and Binomial. Okay, so you're wanting to get in the high-end stuff in the really true HFT firms. I'm going to assume like Jump Street and all that. That's why I want to talk to the recruiter, just to verify what I'm thinking. But what I'm thinking is hopefully you have a good degree, like a master's at least and a PhD. That's number one. I want to verify that if that's the case or not. If you have no education or just a master's or undergrad, that's a tough nut to crack. I say that because there's, what I'm understanding is at least 150, maybe 200 applications per job in the HFT, whatever position you want. And I wouldn't be surprised that at least 25, maybe even half, have a Ivy League a level of education. The other thing you have to factor in is a lot of firms have been laying off. So you also have to compete against experienced people from the HFT world. From what I'm seeing in my LinkedIn, there's quite a few of them with the C++ experience. So you may experience a hard nut to crack there. Okay, I'm not trying to say that to discourage whoever, but just to set the reality. It is a hard thing to get into. But that's why I'm thinking about doing this topic next week for people in that position, because they do want to get into the career, but it's, I hate saying it's not as easy as one might think. But if you're willing to pull off an entrepreneurial spirit, you can probably make trading your career. So I am trying to address that as much as possible. But you're going to put in a lot more work, and the only competition is yourself. So if you're not willing to do that, then as one of the podcasts said, that maybe you shouldn't be in this field, because it is about work and it's about implementing tough stuff. So, you know, I'll focus on that, I think, next week, because there's a definite need, a definite gap on how trying to figure out how to help people that want to get in this space but are having a really hard time to get a job and a career out of it. But nobody's ever thinking about, why not do this on your own? Develop your own trading set of systems or strategies and try to make a go of it. Even if you're making a couple $100 a month, you can then scale it and turn it into quite possibly a lucrative career for yourself on your own terms. So if people are willing to put themselves in that headspace, then yeah, I mean, there's definite ways to go down that route. And as I said, the only competition is yourself, if you're willing to do it. So that's another thing, is if you see my tag product at the new website, hftcode.com, I've got exactly that for Bitcoin, for market making, with the heavy duty market making PDF on that algorithm, and a slew of other algorithms as well for Bitcoin. So if you get that and willing to try to understand that along with the C++ low latency code, then you got a shot. I just put up another free product actually on that same website, and that just goes over presentation material with what I'm doing right now on the C#. So that's free. So you can understand that too. So I'm trying to use that website to put some low ticket items in there along with some free stuff to help people kind of like put themselves in that mindset for self-employment, if they're willing to do it. If not, I can't help them. I don't know if anyone can unless they lie to the person. But that's about it. I mean, I don't know what more I can say. Anybody else got questions or comments? We're coming up to an hour, which means I'm at my goal, minimal goal. More questions. You're on a roll, Yasser Fayad. Yasser Fayad. What do you think about computer science, math, and economics? Projects as a leverage is getting into the HFT market maker for one that has only a bachelor's. I don't know for JDI's question if that's a question back to Yasser, but again, your career path, you need to have more advanced degrees, master's or a PhD, for sure. I mean, with the competition out there now, and it has to be from a good school. So what do I think of these? It's a must. It's a minimal standard. These firms pay out 6-digit figures, some to 7-digit for that reason. That you come in and you can get rolling right away. Knowing math, how to interpret it, how to proof it, and come up with working algorithms that are profitable. Same with the coding. Whatever you're expected to code, if it's Python, C++, even C#. And you got to do that pretty well day one. That's why you're being brought in. Now, the other option is to go in as an intern, and that's fierce competition as well. And they just finished those a process for this year, 2026, because they usually do it November, December for a lot of the big firms. So what do I think? It's a must, and it's complicated. It's not easy stuff. Okay, JDI, what's your process for developing strategies? That product I mentioned in the tag, that will be a Bitcoin market maker in ultra low latency algorithm and coding. The process is pretty simple. I can download real data for whatever I'm interested in, let's say Bitcoin, and then I can ask the AI to come up with advanced algorithms, high frequency trading, quant-like modeling, and strategy development. And then from there, the process is pretty simple. I then feed that data, or it's really a text result. I can then take that and then feed it into another AI, Claude as an example, whatever language. Usually I use Python Streamlit applications because Streamlit's designed for this. And what I do is I'll take that set of text of the different algos and strategies, and I ask the AI to give me a back test on each one and a forecast. And generally, if it's in Streamlit, it will give you that with a lot of detail, especially if it's an advanced Claude model like 4.5. And what you get is a result. And you'll be able to get a comparison of what the best strategy for Bitcoin, let's say, would be for that data set, what strategy, and then all at the same time, you'll have a back test and go back a year, depending upon your time frame of the data you provided. And then it'll also give you a forecast. With the forecast, you can then say, okay, this particular strategy is the number one profitable, has the highest probability, and then code, and then feed that back, that particular model or strategy, because you have now the detail of it, and you can ask Claude or whoever, Claude is pretty good at it, to generate an actual code base for you. If it's C++, Python, and then you could do that. And that's the workflow. That's the work process for developing the strategy or set of strategies to figure out which one's the best performing, and along with the one with the highest probability with the walk forward. And it's been working really good. So that's what I come up with for the C#. There's 4 strategies I got across 8 instruments. 8 instruments that have a lot of volume and liquidity. And that's what we're going to test. And I'm going to test it against whatever's performing at that time. And as I said, there's 4 of them, which are more simpler. There's the RSI mean reversion, VWAP mean reversion. I think it's Bollinger mean reversion. I can't remember, but there's 4. And then we develop the code from it. And that's what I've done with the C#. And yeah, it seems to work. It's simple, but I can overly complicate it by passing the client code, especially for the algorithm part, and then feed that into Claude and ask for it to make the code much more detailed and put in more levels of mathematical algorithms to make it better at calculating data as it's being streamed in. So that's very possible to do. But the next question is, let's throw some live money at it. And that's where I'm at now. Right now. I'll be testing that once I get to that point, and whatever's performing, I'll definitely trade live with real money. Once I'm comfortable with the order management part, with the open positions, and it properly opens and closes those positions. Hopefully I'll help you out, JDI. It's a good question. And as I said, with the podcast, it kind of goes over that in a much better way. And as I said, if you want to know where to get that podcast, I'm trying to get it on YouTube under the podcast section. It's really messed up how it works with Substack, but you'll get on my Substack. And again, that's quantlabs.substack.com for that podcast. And I've already got 2 podcast editions on there. And that's all generated by AI. And it's really good because it's a conversation between a male and a female, and it explains everything. And the algos that it talks about is very simplified, and why it's been chosen. Again, that's chosen by the AI. And, it's just pretty impressive where we're at with all of this, how you can present it, and the actual working components on a trading system. For new people, comments and questions are highly appreciated. That's what keeps this whole thing going. We've got 2 people on so far asking pretty good questions. Thanks to JDI and Yasser Al-Fayed. Sounds like out of Africa. The questions out of Africa I like because if anyone's challenged in the world, it's people out of Africa. And they got a bigger way, more workarounds than us in the West to have access to everything. So they have limited access to the brokers. So Yasser Al-Fayed comes back. I only have knowledge of C++ assembly, 86 of 64, options, futures, stocks, forex, major, minor, pairs, commodities, crude oil, and gold. But I'm from Africa. What are my chances of getting into HFT? It sounds like you could have the C++, which is a requirement. The C is good. The assembly is really good to have because that will give you edge over a lot of people. So you're good there. If you've got real world experience with what you mentioned here on the trading front, especially the options, you got a good chance there. You may get lucky by applying to more, I call them garage hedge funds, garage basement operations, some smaller hedge funds or smaller family offices. They may overlook it if you don't have the education. And if that's the case, then that obviously raises your potential. But again, I'm not sure what kind of firms you want to trade in. As I said earlier, if you want to trade in a major brand name HFT firm, without the education, it's hard. Very hard, as I said earlier. But you may get lucky, and especially out of England, and there's quite a few in the US as well, that are willing to take chances on people if they have the drive. Now, if you want to improve your chances and what you're saying based upon your experiences, the number one thing you want to do is to showcase your capabilities. So it's not just enough to put all your knowledge and coding skills on a GitHub repository. You have to put in quite literally a track record of some kind of real trading with what you know based upon your trading skills and your tech. If you can show that for 3 months, then as I said, you may get the attention of some of these smaller trading firms. It's a very strong possibility if you can do that and be profitable and generate alpha. Because the number one thing that firms are looking for right now, as they lay people off, I mean, they don't really need as much staff as they claim because of AI. AI is changing everything. But what AI does not ever guarantee is high possibility of returns driven by a human. As I said, if you got a track record to say that and prove that, third party verified, believe me, a firm will want you and hang on to you for dear life. But you have to showcase that. And I don't know. It's hard for me to be on a stream talking to people I don't know to measure their knowledge. It's fine. I don't know their education. But in terms of drive, which is a big one, but more importantly is to show the results, show the receipts as well, and put them up somewhere on like a GitHub, but it has to be third-party verified. You have to show your broker statements. So he comes back and says, I've designed some derivative models for options, futures, bingo, swaps, and I'm currently designing my own data structure, specifically a tree data structure, and I will soon publish my research in math. Yes, now you're talking. That's good talk. That's going to quite possibly put you midway with what you mentioned there. But if you want to be front of the line, you definitely got to take what you just stated, because it's all theoretical, and actually put it into practice. So if you can do it, put it into practice, trade it live with real money, get it third-party verified, and especially if you can generate alpha, you just go up the ladder. That ranking, that priority, you get higher. And then if you know how to post on LinkedIn, maybe even Substack, you can get the attention. I'll give you some updates on my LinkedIn. So at the beginning, I was posting all my shorts that get posted on LinkedIn, and they were getting posted on my profile. All I was getting is likes from motivational speakers and coaches. It was no good. So I started focusing on quote-unquote research papers, and more specifically infographics. And if you can post infographics, you will start to see specifically ultra-low latency and C++, strategy development and trading platforms. You will get the attention of people. So at the beginning, I started getting attention for people at BlackRock and State Street, senior people, director level. These are people that are decision makers that could hire you based upon what they see. So with that kind of content, you will get the attention if you know how to post on LinkedIn. You'll bypass all the gatekeepers. You'll bypass the human resources, recruiters, because now you're getting the attention of the directors, the hiring people that can make those business decisions. But that's fine, and you're able to start conversations with them. That's fine. But the next question will ask, well, show me the money. Show me your track record. Show me your verified track record. Show me your beating beta. That's when they'll start to see the results. And the first couple things they'll ask, what's the max drawdown over whatever period? What's your Sharpe ratio? And what's your win ratio? Those are the three big questions they'll ask. And if it's satisfactory, namely Sharpe ratio over 2, you will get attention. You will be taught. They will come to you. That's the way to go. Minus the education, minus all the gatekeepers in these roles. And as I said, if you know how to post it on LinkedIn, direct them to maybe a GitHub, and be transparent, you will get the attention that you want. And then you can move into those roles. They don't care who you are, what you are. If you're from outer space, they don't care. All they care about is, can you generate revenue for our firm? Can you bring value? And if you do, if you continually do that day in, day out, long term, you can do very well and make your big salary, without a doubt. But on the other hand, if you're already doing that, why aren't you generating that for yourself? It's more lucrative and less stress. That's the question I'd be asking. People seem to want the career path, but they get chewed out very quickly, then spat out. And these firms don't care. As long as you're generating the Sharpe ratio, yeah, they'll be your pal. Once you drop off, like in any sport where you're losing your performance, yeah, you're kind of done. But that's the path I'd go, for sure. And you can reach these people. I've just done it today. I got some low latency C++. I got a founder at a Brazilian investment firm. So yeah, definitely you can reach them. Substack's pretty good too. And the thing is, I don't know who's I'm reaching via YouTube either, but LinkedIn you can see who they are. And if you get the premium membership tier, you can open up, as I said, you can start up those conversations with people at that level if you have everything to back up what you claim. And you go in from theory to actual practice. And to show all the statements and all verify and all. Then you have a good shot, but you gotta have all that in place. Theory is no longer useful, especially now. Now, especially, you're going to be competing against highly experienced people looking for work as well. And we haven't even mentioned AI in all of this either. Okay, so it gets more fierce. But if you follow with what I'm trying to mention here, you got a good shot. And hopefully, if you're at that from what you're explaining, Yasser Fayad, then yeah, you're raising your chances. Next thing is, that's all great, but let's see the practice. Let's see the track record. Let's see a trading system that you're willing to put out. Then you're doing good. He's got another question. I have a question concerning Jane Street and want your take on what happened to their India business last year. Basically, they were manipulating the Indian options futures market or index. Yeah, you've answered your own question. If the Indian authorities think that that's what happened, they get struck. Quite possibly, was it wrong? I don't know. I'm not there. Would it surprise me those firms do that? No, doesn't surprise me. They just got caught, and then the Indian regulators took action. So I don't know if I can offer an opinion on it, but it happens. But they claimed it was just arbitrage strategy. What's your take on it? Again, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what happened. I'm not there. I wasn't on either end of it. I can suspect things, but I'll just say this. As I said, I wouldn't be surprised something happened, that Jane Street did something questionable, and as I said, they got caught. Now, just to say it's some arbitrage strategy, I don't know. I just don't know. Because Citadel didn't get caught, and Jane Street competitors didn't get caught, so I don't know. I don't know. If you guys got questions or comments, let me know. That's what we're here for. But that's a good question. I just wish I could give you more accurate answers, because I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people online that will say one thing or another. Do some of the HFT market makers firm offer remote work? I've seen it, but not so much anymore, because the candidates, there's not enough proper candidates. So I think think of it this way. There was a time when a lot of the interviews for tech firms were done remotely. Now they want you on site. Why? Because of the cheating. So a lot of these idiots that cheated have now ruined it for themselves and ruined it for other legit people. So can you imagine these firms, that you speak of, the HFT firms wanting to bring in remote people, if they don't know you, they don't trust you, they might offer it to senior people, but I don't know now with the junior people coming in or new people coming in. I don't see that. You'd have to be on site for sure. Wouldn't make sense because the security is so on it. Anything they suspect. Do some of the HFT market makers offer remote? Okay, I already answered that. Remote, no. Again, that's what I like about doing this on your own, because you're doing it on your own terms, right? So that's the thing about it. If you can generate, as I said, the alpha that you want, and you can verify it and you can sustain it, why aren't you doing it yourself? I mean, that's a really top skill to have. But I mean, I know a lot of people want to go into these firms, but if you have these skills, you can prove it. There's other paths you can go. You could go into consulting. You could go out and start a fund with somebody, or start a fund yourself, or just trade your own money. And it could be lucrative. And if you have a high probability of making money through this type of auto trading, yeah, why not start on your own? Stick it out some jobs that you don't like to sustain yourself, for your sustenance each month, and build it out. I mean, many entrepreneurs do that. Like, they live the dream, but they have to do it on the side. And once they get to a point where they can generate their own income to supplement themselves, they do it. And if you're really good at it, that's what I'd prefer. Because a lot of these firms will not keep people over 35. Like, they just won't. Unless you're willing to go into management or lead a trading desk where you're adding way more value, or portfolio management, they're not going to stick around. Got a new guy. Thank you for joining. Artorez 5548. Thanks for the question. Does HFT only require a 50% win ratio due to rebates? Not necessarily. Through the grapevine, I've heard you could have a win ratio of 25. If your position sizing is big enough, and you have the big enough profits to exceed the losses, you can still get rebates. And even on the losses, you can still get rebates. So that's why people like market making. No matter which way you go, you're providing liquidity into the market, and you get rebates. And some firms live and die by that, and they're comfortable with that. So it is an option. But again, you got to have a big account for that to make, unless you're on Binance, it's a different story. So Yasser Al-Fayed comes back and says, so basically most of the brokers aren't available in Africa. Interactive Brokers, Fidelity, Robinhood. If I was to start trading options and futures, this isn't possible. I'm left with CFDs. If you're in Africa and what you're stating outside of Interactive Brokers, then yeah, you're limited, unfortunately. And CFDs, as you said here, it is risky. Yeah, I don't like CFDs at all. But think of it this way: CFDs, if that's what you got access to, or just retail forex, start with that. I mean, if you're making money from there, there's no reason why you can't. This is the frustrating part, to relocate to these regions that do have the better support. So I don't. I'm not an immigration consultant on that. It's hard to ask about with a chance to get into these locations. I do know. I'll give you an example. If you're willing to spend money to go to Dubai, you probably can get access to all of these brokers that you're speaking of. I will tell you, and I just did this week. It's not hard to get a visa for Dubai. Actually, they want you in Dubai. For me, it's going to cost about $8,000 to $10,000 US. Sorry, yeah, $8,000 to $10,000 US annually. That includes your visa, your corporation setup, your trading desk, and you go in as a sole proprietor, as a trader, Dubai will accept you. So obviously you will be able to open those doors. And they seem to be able to take anybody. You know, as long as you're willing to pay for yourself, there's really no system to dip into. Yeah, Dubai has an opportunity there. And if you're able to do it, take it now while it's open and it's generous. I'm also looking at Singapore as well. Malaysia might be a good option. Thailand might be a good option. And those countries have interactive brokers. So if you're willing to relocate to those cheaper regions in Asia, that's another option as well. Because if you're in an African country and you're severely limited, then you've answered your own question. The writing's on the wall and what you need to do. I just wish I could give you a better approach on that, unfortunately. And I'm not trying to say that from a standpoint of being privileged being here, because, you know, I'm wanting to move out of the West and into a place like Dubai or wherever in Asia because of affordability, lack of tax, or zero tax. It's just more appealing. So I'm wanting to go too, and I'm willing to go. So, as I said, it comes back to how motivated you are to accomplish all this, right? And the other thing is, when it comes to the jobs in Dubai, you probably have a better chance of getting into these firms that are setting up shop in Dubai, because it's a new up and coming market, and there's less talent there. Okay, and I could say the same thing about Saudi. Saudi is getting very aggressive on the high frequency trading front. I did an article about that a couple of months ago. Yeah, no, I'm not a headhunter at Yasser. Would not be nice. I can make nice money. I'm not a headhunter, but good try. I'm just trying to give you tips here. But as I said, Saudi Arabia is getting very aggressive on the high frequency trading front. So that might be another option as well. As it comes back to the same thing. If you got the talent, you've got the track record, it's verified, the right Sharpe ratio. Excuse me, you're going places if you're willing to go. And no, I'm not a headhunter. I did say earlier I'm hoping to get a headhunter to answer all these kind of questions, because I don't like to speak on hunches or suspicions. I like to get the real deal out. Maybe I might just send a slew of questions and get a set of answers from them, because that'll help people like you. I mean, I know I've run 2 groups on Facebook and LinkedIn. Facebook, I think, is about 14,000 people, and LinkedIn's about at least 10, maybe 11,000 people in those 2 groups. And a good chunk of those people are technical. They have the know-how to get in these kind of firms. So it would be a really good opportunity for a recruiter to talk to me and then get access to those kind of groups, because the talent is pretty good that I've got within all those groups. Not just that, but my email list and here on YouTube and other social media, and followers on LinkedIn as well. So more and more people are seeing the kind of content, and they follow what I'm doing, especially on LinkedIn. So maybe I should become a header. I don't know. Because it's interesting topics. But I do know it's a pretty cutthroat business, and people will sell their own mother out to get $1. It's not a good field to be in. Tough field to be in. Who's got questions and comments? Let me know. You guys have been pretty good tonight. I should become a headhunter. That's an interesting thing, but it's not my personality. You'd have to cheat a lot, lie a lot, and I'm not one of those. I try to be a nice, honest person. I couldn't imagine like having people apply en masse and then you ignore 99% of them. I just, that's not me. You know, I try to make myself accessible, and I've been through the recruiting process. It's not fun. That's why I don't do it. I've not been in that game for at least 10 years. I appreciate the suggestion, but it's something I'm not really interested in. Now, if I'm talking referral income, you send somebody over that's really good to a recruiter, they get hired. Now you're talking. I could do that, but I got to know people. I'm not going to put my name on the line just to refer somebody I don't know. So that's why it's always a better interest for people to, participate in this, like kind of getting to know JDI from, he's coming out to a lot of these streams. So that's the thing. Yasser, yeah, I got your name wrong. Sorry about that. Yasser, Yasser Fayad. Sorry about that. How do I share my research work to you? I'm not talking about GitHub. I mean, publications. I want to know about what you think. I'm not the best person for the feedback. I'm going to be honest with you. If you want to do it in a confidential way, I would send over to validate it in an easy way. Just send it over to an AI. Okay, pick out the AI that you want and get an evaluation on that AI. And people are going to say, well, but my intellectual property will get posted on there. Well, then set up a local AI on your system so it doesn't get posted anywhere. I've been talking, DeepSeek 4 may have that as a solution in mid-February. So you could do that as an example, and at that point, it'll be highly advanced. So you might want to consider that to verify your quality on your theories. You can send me whatever you want. I'll gladly look at it, or I can do all this on your behalf. Just let me know. I'll gladly give you my info if you want. So our Torres, again, thanks for the question. What's the pay structure for the quants? Do they get profit sharing as well? Yeah, they do, depending on the firm, and they can be quite generous. It depends upon your trading desk. Depends upon the trading firm. Every firm's different, for sure. It's always usually mentioned in the job description. And if you're top-notch, like, I don't know, let's say you're coming out of MIT, you're top grad, and you got professors like going, oh, this is the NSBE graduate of the year. All the firms will line up to hunt you down like an all-star player coming out of the minor leagues, and they will hunt you down, and you will get paid top dollar. But if you're coming in as an average Joe, you have to look at the job description. And sometimes, from what I'm hearing, is when they get into the last stage and they get the job offer, and then they go, that's it. That's all I'm getting in my pay salary. That's it. That's all I'm getting in my bonus or pay structure. People don't like it, and I can probably guarantee you in the job condition we're in now, they will lowball you as much as they can. So be aware of that. And it's kind of hard to say what the pay structure will be. Usually it's just in the job description, and even that will be very vague. And then when you do apply and you do go through all the recruiting, and then you walk away with a pay offer you don't like, I don't know what to say. Because let's say you're top notch and you have two other firms interested in you. The first question from one of the firms, specifically Citadel, they'll ask you, are you applying to other firms right now, and do you have other firms interested in you? And you say, yes, I do. They won't bid against you. They will not pursue you. They want exclusively to own you. So be aware of that. And there is profit sharing. It just depends upon the firm, depends upon the market conditions, and it really depends on you. If you're top notch, you can make good money, and they will throw all kinds of whatever at you to try to entice you to go with them. That's so you understand what you're up against. R. Torres, what if you have created a portfolio of mathematical models already that work well? Well, it depends upon what you define as working well. As I said to Yasir, what matters is, do you have a track record? Because it's one thing to have theory. You have to have everything in practice. You have to have your track record. You have to have it verified. You have to have hopefully a long period of trading activity. And usually it's Sharpe ratio. If you're a Sharpe ratio of 3 or more, they're probably going to go, yep. If you're kind of under 1, they go, they're going to have somebody better, possibly. And you got to be top notch to really get what you're seeking. But yeah, you definitely need to be verified and have a good track record to showcase your Sharpe ratio. Typically, what I would do if you have all that in place, you would want to present it in a tear sheet presentation. So what happens is, if you're a shop and you're a little whatever, a little trading firm, but you're trying to get the capital raised through one of these big firms or family office, you have to put everything that you have in a tear sheet for trading, and then that's what they use, because that'll have everything in there, all the statistics, all of the regular performance. So just do a Google search on that. There's some actual third-party verified services, software journaling services that will maybe do that for you. Kind of like TradeMetria or TraderSync as well. So you might want to take note of those. But that may not be enough. I've heard that a lot of these firms will want to get access to your clearinghouse records. I don't know how they do that, but if you're in the options and futures space, typically they want to see your FCM perform. They want to see your FCM report. So that is your futures commission merchant report. So when you sign up and create your futures and options, you have to you will get a FCM via Phillips or Thorman, or what's the other big one? One of those. There's actually 3, and then they want to see that, because that's what they use to verify your trading performance. And they may, I have no idea, they may go actually to the FCM to see if it's verified, or your broker as well. And most of these type of jobs are going to be in futures and options, specifically options. Good chunk of these firms are futures and options. I mean, there's the odd stock one, but I'd say 75% are stock and futures and options. There's some crypto, but the way crypto's going lately, I wouldn't be surprised a lot of these firms are going to drop off. And there's going to be more institutional coming in, and they'll be probably going through CME or Coinbase Prime. Again, the retail don't have access to that platform, but definitely we all have access to the CME. So if you can participate in that, even in crypto, Ethereum, Bitcoin, they just added four more altcoins on CME. That's the way, unfortunately, and it's getting more competitive, as I mentioned earlier on this stream. So watch the earlier parts about it, because it is kind of fierce competition, I think. Yasir comes back. Can I just be a junior option trader for this hedge fund market maker from a computer science background? It's possible. So you want to be a junior option trader. Depends again on the firm. You could do that. I don't see why. You have the everything in place. But usually if you're going to go down that path, you have to go in as an intern. That's usually the way for the big firms it would work. As I said, they've already probably finalized who they're picking for this summer for 2026, no problem, Arturas. But if you want to get the internship, you have to apply November, December to get the following year. So 2026 is already probably filled up. And there is like 4 companies I was getting early November that they're looking. That was Goldman Sachs, Citadel, Jump, Jane Street, whole slew of them in early November. And from what I understand, those positions get filled very quickly by mid-November. They'll say they accept them till mid-December, but that's the time period you got to apply. And then, as I said, those internships are for a year, and then you're still competing against other interns within the firm to get hired in the big firms. So I can't sit here and say that they hire external folks via resume or via recruiter for junior. I think the best way to get a junior position is through an internship. It's very competitive, but they pay very well. I think they pay $120K or something like that per year out of the States. So, as I said, I'm not here to discourage. I'm here to set reality and set truth as close as I can think it. But for junior positions, that's usually how they do it. So Yasser, because I've read a lot of books on options, futures, derivative models, because I know I'll be tested on a simulator game during internships. You would, but again, I don't know your education. If you're coming in from a large master's or PhD from an Ivy League school, sure, you'll get an interview. Sure, you'll be tested. And if you claim you got the confidence to get past all of the simulation and other tech questions and math, yeah, you got a shot. But again, I'm not guaranteeing this is the way they do it. But I wouldn't surprise me in this economy. Yeah, it's through internships, and I've already explained how that works, at least with the big firms. So let me know. Thanks for the likes, folks. If you got questions, let me know. I'm coming from a non-Ivy League school, and I'm from Africa and Nigeria, to be specific. Don't let that limit you, okay? I'm not here to limit you. I just want you to understand that it's like this, and I've said this before. If a recruiter is going to take a chance on you and you don't have that Ivy League PhD, and you work in these firms and you don't work out, you get fired, there's going to be heat put on the recruiter from some up manager. So that's why a lot of the recruiters are very conservative and only go with Ivy League graduates to save their own ass. I've been told that multiple times over the years. So whenever you hear somebody say you don't need schooling or education, specifically you want to get in these kind of roles, don't listen to them. Worst advice. But as I said, if you want to go in a small firm, you got a shot. Again, I can't guarantee it. And even if that's the case, if you got the motivation, it sounds like you do, what's stopping you from doing it on your own? Because there's tons of people. I just got a couple of videos sent to me. People, $100, 200,000 from options trading. Yeah, so it's very possible to do very well if you got the kahunas, as they call it. Why not? So there's nothing stopping you from it. It sounds like you got all the skills there, Yasser. I would probably go down that route if you feel limited, but I would not want you to feel limited because of where you live or who you are. That's one thing for sure. I would not want you to be discouraged by it. Because even if you get that track record, a small one, they may look at you and going, wow, you have a lot of initiative. We want you. So I can work in your favor. But again, I just don't want to come off saying that's going to be a guarantee, right? Just trying to, as I said, set some form of reality, but at this other end, I just don't want to discourage you, because the one thing you don't want to do is to discourage people that have a huge love for this and a huge passion. I think if that was the case, I'd be looking into doing my own thing for sure. And you probably have a higher probability of succeeding with that. And on the other hand, like, one thing with career doing this, you could lose your job just because an AI could do the same thing as what you do. And then what? Look for another job and go through the pain of looking for another job? Excuse me. There's a lot of people out there that are out of work for a year or two, and then they get stale. And what do? Or if you're older and you can't find work, what do you do? What do you do for retirement? That sort of thing. Thanks for all the info. When are you going live again? I do these Tuesday nights, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, every Tuesday. I'm thinking of adding on another week or random. I don't know. I've got the software to kind of do bigger things with desktop and presentations on a desktop sort of thing. So I may do that. But this structure right now is 7 p.m. What I would recommend you do is to get on my website, quantlabsnet.com, and just join there. I've got an ebook you can get on C++, HFT infrastructure, no cost. I'm just rolled out a new website, hftcode.com. I just put up a free thing on there as well. So those are the two sites I have. HFTcode.com, probably the easiest one, or quantlabsnet.com. So yeah, just get on my email list. Yeah, and then I put out events and stuff like this and announce it that way. Thank you very much for the info. No problem, man. You got to make sure you act, okay? Because if you're not acting, you just stay swimming against the tide, you know? And that's the one thing you don't want to end up doing, because you become an old fart like me that has done nothing. Not quite, but yeah, you get frustrated as you get older, and you don't want to be in that position, because if you start to get older in retirement, you're gonna have to figure out how to sustain yourself beyond, 60 and beyond. And this stuff, once you get good at it and you're consistently profiting, it can be a good field to retire off of. And even better if you can develop systems that will trade on your behalf 24/7, because we will move into that world as well. You guys got any other questions or comments? We're coming up to almost 2 hours, so I've done quite a bit of blabbing here. I think next week I'm going to do the topic of what I just talked about. I want to get verification from a recruiter on this, what I'm thinking of what firms look for, the current market economics, and what it's done to the job market for these kind of roles. The competition, blah, blah, blah. What do you need for education? What are the chances if you don't have any of that? Blah, blah, blah. I want to get verification on that. I might roll it out to a bunch of recruiters. If I get one of the bigger ones out of London, I'll be happy. Yeah. So I think that's important. Okay, who's got questions, comments? If not, I'll give it a wrap for tonight. I'll be happy for the length of time I've done this. Okay. If you're typing, just type away so I know you want to ask some. But I'll wait. I'll do it going 1 to 5 times, and if that'll be the signal to wrap her up for tonight. And again, if you want, join the email list either at quantlabsnet.com. That's where most of the activity takes place. I'm kind of rolling out some more stuff on hftcode.com as well. But if you want to know the full on what's going on with me, yeah, quantlabsnet.com is where you want to sign up. There's a Learn tab there to get that HFT ebook all free. Okay, so I'll do a going once. If you got something, just type it in. Even just put in a letter. Going twice. Going 3 times. Now I'm going to go 5 times, right? 1, so we're at 4. So going 4 times. No. Going 5 times. No more questions from yes here. Okay, so I guess we're done. Thank you very much. I'll be online next Tuesday again, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I say, just go to my website, quantlabsnet.com, to get on the email list to know what else is happening. There'll be lots of stuff coming. All right, have a good night. Bye-bye.